Mr. New York.
Mark Simone
on 710 WOR.
Well, Ann Coulter, of course, the best-selling author. You should get her latest book, Resistance is Futile, and you can get the new column. It comes out. Actually, it's out now. You just go to AnnCoulter.com or follow Ann Coulter on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
Said this is her first visit to New York. In Peter Thiel's multi-million-dollar apartment, and then went to Nello's for dinner afterwards. I told her, this is totally the typical New York experience. You come here as an intern, you'll have an apartment like that. You'll be eating at Nello's every night. Yeah, this is New York.
So, talk about Kris Kobach. He's a guy who's very good on a lot of issues.
Yes, well, he's very smart, and I know conservatives are trained to hate Harvard and Yale graduates, and I do hope I had something to do with that. But on the other hand, if you get a guy who's made it through the Chinese-style brainwashing of these Ivy League schools and still emerges, loving God and loving his country, that's really something. And if you think about, look, Senator Cotton, Senator Cruz, Senator Josh Hawley, they could use some help with another articulate Republican. So let's just start right there with the fact that which he will never, ever mention, but Harvard undergrad, Yale Law School, Oxford, and not as, just a cheesy little Rhodes Scholar, but a Marshall Scholar. That's completely on merit. So, but you wouldn't know it. He's a sweet Midwesterner, very nice.
By the way, the reason everybody's talking about this is a guy people see as a presidential candidate in a few years.
Yes, I would say so. Though he's really very, very Kansas. He's from Kansas. He lives on 60 acres out there. He went straight back there after Oxford. So it's not like he's just as you often see, people, are spending their lives in Washington and then dash back to some place they happen to have passed through once. Oh, I'm running for Senate. He is a real Kansan, but his specialty, and among the many things he's done, and the reason I am so high on him is when he was working for the Bush administration. Okay, he was briefly in Washington. He designed the E-Verify system, the only government program that's ever worked. And what does it do? It protects American jobs for Americans. It allows employers in about 10 seconds to check to see whether an employee is using a real Social Security card, whether the employee is a citizen or a legal immigrant. Let's see the Democrats vote against that. So he helps design that. He wrote, or had a big hand in writing, the law that drove liberals crazy, and I could finish the sentence there, and he's a great patriot. They called it the Papers, Please law in Arizona. Remember that, where they were deputizing, or the law said that Arizona law enforcement officials, if they arrested someone whom they thought was an illegal, they could ask and hold them for ICE, i.e., they were allowed to follow federal law. And liberals went absolutely mental. They described it as some sort of Nazi provision. Papers, please. Papers, please. Remember, you heard that for like a year. Just these hysterical denunciations. It goes up to the Supreme Court. It was upheld 9-0. 9-0. Thank you, Kris Kobach. He's the one when Trump was going around saying properly, I'm going to build the wall and I'm going to have Mexico pay for it. And you have all these idiots sneering, how are you going to get Mexico to pay for it? Kris Kobach said, and the president has unilateral authority to do this, by the way. I don't know why he hasn't brought it up, our President Trump, your president. Tax remittances. Mexicans in this country, mostly illegal aliens, a little bit of legal Mexicans who aren't yet citizens, send back on average $20 billion a year to Mexico. That is money being sucked out of the American economy, going, directly into the pocket of the richest man in the world, Carlos Slim, or at least he sometimes is the richest man in the world. He may have fallen to number 2. Sending money back to Mexico. Well, under Treasury regulations, the president can say, fine, send the money back, but we're putting a 10% tax on it.
Yeah. All right. I like that idea.
Yeah, he's very smart. Very good on the issues that matter. it would be great to have him on Judiciary Committee. I mean, I think we've been reminded this week how the left, the Supreme Court, I mean, this whole Kavanaugh nonsense, which is what my column is about, by the way. I highly recommend it. It's called Penis Story Falls Apart with Flaccid Hearsay, because this is just unbelievable what they've pulled this time. And why, you ask, Mark Simone, are liberals so hysterical about the Supreme Court? It isn't just abortion. I know we all think it's crazy feminists who are just they're terrified of Roe v. Wade being said. Nobody even cares about that anymore. Well, I mean, people care about it, but no, look at all these judges shutting down everything Trump is trying to do. District court judges. This is how liberals want to rule, through their own hysteria. Just get, they want somebody like Judge Tiger out in San Francisco, who's even defying the Ninth Circuit. And he's like the king of the universe. No, we may have no border. He's a district court judge. They want 9 Judge Tigers on the Supreme Court, and then they won't have to worry about elections.
Yeah, but that Kavanaugh story was a whole new turning the page for the New York Times, too. I mean, it's one thing to slant, twist, spin, but to make up a story from nothing, with no accuser, no victim, no anything, that's amazing that they went that far.
Yes, well, there were so many things I loved about that story, and I don't care if they're embarrassed and they're trying to move on now. They ran it in their newspaper. They dumped this defamation on a lovely man and someone who's already been through a lot, as through his family. I'm writing about that article for the rest of the year.
I mean, can you imagine all the president's men, Ben Bradley, in the conference room there, when he says, well, where's the victim? Oh, there is no actual victim. Well, where's the actual accuser? There is no actual accuser.
Yeah.
Okay, go with it.
No, it's a guy of all if you watch MSNBC, as I know you and I do, they keep talking about, the scores of witnesses, and the FBI didn't even talk to the witnesses. And then we find out that the witnesses, they heard, I quote, something happened to Debbie. At some point in her 4 years at Yale, that's the alleged witness. There's only one person who even connects the two names, Debbie Ramirez and Brett Kavanaugh. There's only one person. He wasn't in the room. He heard it from a guy who wasn't in the room, and the guy he claimed he heard it from denies it.
Yeah. Also, the New York Times described this guy as nonpartisan. He's Hillary Clinton's lawyer. His wife's
that's the other one. That's the Max Stier one, who's burning with rage that Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court and he isn't. This Max Stier went to Stanford Law School around the same time as Kennedy's son. He didn't get a Supreme Court clerkship himself. And yes, what is his claim to fame? He defended Bill Clinton for whipping it out in front of Paula Jones as a governor, which, admittedly, that's not nearly as bad as doing it as an 18-year-old freshman in college.
And when he was defending Clinton in the Paula Jones case, the guy he was battling was Kavanaugh, their old bitter enemies. No.
Yeah, remember, we'll take you back. For those of you who are paying attention to the hearings, Kavanaugh, after all of this nonsense and crap was dropped on his family, when he gave his statement, he said something to the effect of, this is being brought by people who were fighting old battles over the Clintons.
Yeah.
Because Kavanaugh was working for Starr, and yes, Max Stier was a lawyer on the other side. And on MSNBC, he's crazy. He's imagining some sort of crazy conspiracy. And then we find out this whole thing was being driven by someone who was fighting him when he was working for Ken Starr against Bill Clinton. This is exactly what he was talking about.
Wow. If you want to read the column, you just go to AnnCoulter.com, or it's up on Twitter. You can get Ann Coulter's latest column. Also, get the book, Resistance is Futile. I think it's the best book she's written so far. Resistance is Futile. And you go to AnnCoulter.com, follow Ann Coulter on Twitter and all that stuff. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Oh, and everybody check out the webpage. A lot of good stuff up there. Hey, if you missed the Corey Lewandowski testimony in front of the bumbling, incompetent Nadler, here's all the highlights cut together in just a few minutes. Also, this Canadian prime minister, this moron, is in trouble again. He's one of the dumbest world leaders ever. Watch this video. This is in the past year or two. Watch him try to talk without a script. He is one of the most bumbling, inarticulate guys ever. You'll be amazed when you watch this video.